In this episode, we are speaking with Matt Raad, who is an expert in helping people to buy websites, renovate them, and then generate traffic and revenue for their existing online businesses. So this is going to be a very interesting and unique conversation. Stay tuned.
If you want to build a legitimate, profitable online business without shiny objects, without the hypey gimmicks, and without the stress and overwhelm, if you want to make more money without having to be present online all day, every day, pumping out content that nobody sees and hustling DMs to generate leads and sales, then this is the place for you. Welcome to the Digital Trailblazer podcast, your online business university, where you'll learn how ordinary people start from ground zero with no influence, no email list or audience to sell to, and no business or marketing experience, and go from working 9-to-5 jobs to building successful 6- and 7-figure online businesses and all the steps in between. Learn the strategies that worked and what didn't. Learn the mistakes that they made and how to avoid them, and then learn their plans for scaling their businesses and taking things to the next level. All so that you can build your business faster and easier and make more money without sacrificing the things that are important to you in your life. I'm your host, Leah Ray Getz, and with me is my husband, Todd. Now, let's get to it with today's guest.
Welcome, everybody, to the Digital Trailblazer podcast. With us today is Matt Raad. Matt, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience and explain what you are all about?
Awesome. Thanks for having me on, Todd. Our background is buying and selling businesses. So we've generated our wealth in quite a unique way. Most people, do it through working, real estate. When I say we too, it's my wife and I. For 30 years, we've been buying and selling businesses, all kinds. But we saw the light, Todd, many years ago and bought online businesses. And we just found it a lot easier. And we're able to expand very quickly because you can buy niche websites that have the traffic that we want. No matter what niche we're in, we could buy a website that would have the traffic and we could expand our portfolio. So basically, our thing is teaching beginners to do what we've done. And we absolutely love it. There's some huge opportunities out there. And I know a lot of your listeners are already in the coaching space. And, there's probably some big opportunities that people don't even realize. And we love pointing out how you value websites and things like that. It's a very exciting area.
Yeah. And the thing is, this is such a unique concept. I think when most people think about generating traffic for their business, they're thinking about things like creating social media content or maybe starting their own blog or their own website, creating a YouTube channel, running paid ads and things like that. But buying an existing website is probably something most people have not thought about. And the thing is, when you do that, like you said, you're not just buying a website, you're buying an entire online business. It has an established flow of traffic. It's already generating revenue to some point with affiliate links or with ad revenue or something like that. So explain to me the process, once you buy, and we'll kind of backtrack a little bit later on about, how do I identify these sites and some of the other things. But just for the sake of our listeners, when you buy a website, how are the different ways that you can monetize that in addition to inserting your own offer into that?
There's two kind of big strategies that we do. We either buy the website to add to an existing online business that we have, like what you're saying, but also often we'll just buy websites because they're such high cash flow generators. So in and of themselves, they're standalone businesses that we're really attracted to, and we can see renovation opportunities. So mainly what we're trying to do is identify websites where ideally they've been let run down a little bit. The owners maybe had them on autopilot for a few years or for many years, hopefully. They're comfortable making, X amount of dollars off them. And so we come along and give them a bit like what real estate investors do when they're flipping houses, I guess. We give them a light renovation, coat of paint, tidy them up, and we fix up in particular the monetization. So we'll put in much better affiliate offers, or we offer, information products on there, which are typically much higher revenue generators than just plain ads, which is normally how a lot of old school website owners monetize their passion sites, because it's easy. And to this day, we still love AdSense, getting clicks off ads, because it's very passive. But if you have an information product that you could add to a website that you see for sale, then it can work really well. So maybe it's easy to just give an example. Clients of ours, Nathan and Alexa, they're not gardeners, they're not experts in the space, but they already owned a big website in the gardening space. They have a team of writers, like just 2 writers that help produce that website. And they were doing some outreach work with other gardening blogs. And they found a guy here in Australia that hadn't touched the website in like years. It was just sitting there ticking along, basically doing nothing. And they said to him, "Oh, do you want to sell it? Like, notice you haven't touched it in years. What are you doing with it?" He said, "Yeah, sure, $400. And so they bought it for $400, which is next to nothing for a business, right? And that site now makes them $4,000 a month doing what I said. They tidied it up. They already knew how to make money in that particular niche. And we're coming into spring right now as we record this here in Australia. And it's now getting, I think when I last spoke to them, it's getting about 80,000 visitors to that website. Now that's with a $400 website buy. And it's just mind blowing. And it's really cool, the opportunities out there. So that doesn't happen all the time. If you're listening to this, there's a bit, you've got to kind of be looking around in your niche. But there's lots of ways there's a lot of opportunities out there. And actually, Todd, shall I mention my favorite one that I literally just found with the same commute? We were coaching our high-level coaching clients just last week, and I can't believe the timing of this coming onto your podcast. Someone in there was asking about SEOing a coaching website. And I said to them, "Oh, what would be ideal is if you could buy an old coaching site and use that as an adjunct to drive traffic." And literally within about 10 minutes, this doesn't always happen, by the way, it's not typical, but because coaching niche is quite competitive, I've done a lot of SEO and helped heaps of people SEO websites in the coaching niche over the last 10 years. And I was explaining how competitive it is. And that's why my strategy would be to go and try and buy an existing coaching site. Because a lot of coaches will give up. If they haven't done your and Leah's course, they're not going to know how to run a coach. It's like running an online coaching site. It can be tricky. So a lot of people do give up. Anyway, we found this old site. I won't mention the URL, literally within less than 5 minutes looking around in the niche. And even I was shocked that it was a really high-ranking site. It had lots of traffic. We could see that. And the owner obviously had disappeared, wasn't touching it. And total fluke, someone in our community actually knew the coach and said, "Oh, no, he's not coaching anymore." So I said to the person that I was helping out, "Why don't you just send them an email, see if they want to sell? Just offer them a couple of grand for it or something like that." This is an existing site. It's been around for more than 15 years. It specializes in online coaching and helping with mindset. Absolutely brilliant. That is the perfect asset to own. That could turn into a 7-figure asset down the track.
Yeah. And especially in that mindset niche, like that's.
It is. Yeah, it's just gold. Absolutely. If you're listening to this and you've got a coaching site in the mindset niche and it's got traffic, that is worth way more than you potentially realize. And yeah, mindset niche. This was a high-ranking site. We were shocked that it was there. And I said to the client, "You've got 7 days, then I'm going to approach them." So like everyone wants to buy that site now. That's why I won't mention the URL just yet. But they're out there.
Now, a lot of people may be thinking, well, what about my own website? Like, why would I buy somebody else's business versus just trying to build up my own website?
And that's a really good question. I think it's still important. It's really important to build your own website, your own branding, and your own social media presence, especially in this day and age with AI. This is an adjunct to that because you instantly, the beauty of buying an existing website, especially one that's long established, is you get a lot of, I guess, virtual assets with that people don't realize. So it's not only the traffic that you get access to, but you get the SEO value of the domain name, or you may even just get the value of the articles alone. So we have several travel bloggers in our community, and Chris and Beck, they're travel influencers that we've coached. Just recently, they found an aged website in the travel niche that they're in. Same thing, the guy hadn't touched it in around 15 years, and they literally bought that for $5,000. And Chris said to me, "Matt, when I went through the site, the reason I bought it wasn't for the SEO value. It was just for the content alone." He goes, "I hire writers." He's got 2 writers that help him write it. And there was thousands of articles on here that had been written over 15 years. He goes, Matt, I can't recreate that possibly for, $5,000. It's probably worth $20,000 to $30,000 just in the content alone. And he could tell the articles were real because he's a travel influencer. He'd actually been to the places where this person had written the articles about. He had parked his RV in the same car parks. So it was really helpful content. And so for him, it was a no-brainer at $5,000. He's just suddenly handed a whole heap of 15 years worth of content. So you can also get bargains like that. So if you're looking to expand your business and you've got a bit of a budget, like if you're already spending money on paid traffic, I'd recommend you look around. We're not talking having to buy big sites even. You could buy small little niche sites in your niche, and there will be some asset in there that you can strip down, either the content, the SEO value, because you can just do redirection of links. And I know I'm talking advanced stuff. Anyone who understands SEO will know what I'm talking about there. But it's easy. It's relatively easy once you understand. Or you can put your own, like you said, Todd, you can put your own products on the new site. Liz and I have done that a lot. That's worked really, really effectively for us. When you're selling info products, that was actually one of our favorite strategies when we first started doing this back in 2008. Our very first site, we literally bought, and we noticed Liz had built sites before that. This is when you had the hand code websites. Liz is my wife. And one that she's impatient. She's a real go-getter, type A personality type thing. And she just said, why are we taking all this time building sites? She's the one that came up with the idea. Why don't we do what we've always done, Matt? Because we used to buy and sell bricks and mortar businesses. She goes, I'm not spending years building up these websites. I'm just going to go and buy them. So she went and bought one, and she found all the traffic. When she looked at the Google, like did the due diligence, you could see all the traffic was going to one particular internal page, and it had no monetization on it. So she literally just put one of our best affiliate offers on that page, and it went from, this is a smaller site, went from making $1,000 a month net to $3,000 a month net within 1 week. That's all she did. That was it. And we've since then, we've done that multiple times. You'll often see that on older, neglected sites.
Right. Yeah. And I think a couple of things you pointed out here. Number one is the SEO value of the domain. And I think people don't realize how hard that is to build up and how much time it takes. It's not just a matter of, creating content and then it instantly ranks. There's a time aspect to this too, that you can't shortcut. That if you find a website that already has that takes months, if not years, off the domain building curve, right? Of ranking your sites and the value of those backlinks and everything else. And then the other thing, like you said, taking your own info products, whether it is an online course that you're selling, or maybe even a coaching program, but especially something that's more hands off, like an online course. Something you mentioned to me before we even jumped on this call was, if you have something like that where you are selling, whether it's a fitness course, a mindset course, or whatever it is, that you can insert into one of these websites to generate revenue. It adds so much value, because you think about an affiliate link. Like if I have an affiliate link for Amazon, for an Amazon product, that may generate me 4% to maybe 7% of the sale. If I've got ad revenue, like banner ads or whatever else on a website, it's a couple cents per click or whatever it is per click that you're earning on those. But when you have an info product that's now selling for $50, $100, $300, whatever it is, that is such a force multiplier. Now you've added value to that website and to that business. And now it's something that, and this is something that hadn't occurred to me before that you brought up. Now that's something that you've added value to that you can sell and exit your business. Is that right?
Absolutely. That's our favorite thing. That's what we live and breathe. That's our passion in life. And it's always fascinated us. So our passion, I think, or thing that's fascinated at me ever as an entrepreneur, ever since I started out, was these big multi-million-dollar deals. And whenever I ask it of our clients, I know everyone loves it. How do you do these big exits? And that was our background in bricks and mortar. We worked in M&A doing deals up to 20 mil. And what we watched was how these big private equity firms and high net worths were doing these 7 and 8 figure deals. And so when we got online, that's the thing that fascinates us. And what you just described is the goal when you're a high net worth in investing is 10xing your money, 10xing your returns. If you run a private equity firm or whatever. And so online, that was our number one goal. And that's how we would do it, what you just described, put info products on a standard old affiliate site and the valuation just goes through the roof. So one of the interviews that we did was Cole. He had a photography website. So he's selling a photography course. He just paid someone to write the course. He was a photographer himself. Like, he was legit. Like, he was really good at photography, but he didn't even write the course. He paid someone $4,000 to write that course, and then he tweaked it up. And within 3 years, he was selling that on a recurring revenue. If you're listening to this, here's how you make the big money. It's not just selling courses. If you can sell it with recurring revenues, you are laughing. That's what all the big corporate buyers or institutional buyers want now, is these recurring revenues. And he did this very effectively. He sold a $49 a month course to teach people how to make money out of photography and how they could become professional photographers. And within 3 years, he had sold that for $10 million. It's just mind blowing. Like, that's in America. So America's the best place to do this sort of a thing. That most of just for the record, even though I'm Australian, 95% of our websites are in America. So everything's focused on America because it's such a big market for this stuff. Yeah, $10 million off a $49 course. Even that blew even me away. I was just within 3 years. So I don't think people realize, like you said, Todd, just how valuable potentially the assets they are that they're building up, particularly if they're building online courses. Online courses, as well as you and I know, and hopefully all your listeners know, is very, very lucrative online. It is not only very high cash flow, it's a really smart business model. If you're listening to this and you're just wanting to get into business, I would listen to Todd and Leah and learn off those guys how to do online courses, and be thinking to yourself, have a 5-year plan maybe where you realize you're not just building cash flow from the online course, which is very exciting. But for me, my background is always thinking about asset value. And because we've never invested in real estate in a big way, for Liz and I, it's always been important. Whatever business we go into, we're actually building an asset for our family down the track. And for us, businesses are our main investment vehicle. So they need to be real assets. And it's everything we do online. I'm just thinking, well, how much is this website actually worth? What's it worth to me in 5 years' time? And online course websites get the highest multiples, especially if you've got a team running them and they're semi-passive. So online coaching businesses are very lucrative as well and very valuable. But if you can layer in kind of semi-passive, recurring monthly revenues from that, they're probably one of the most sought after, valuable online businesses at the moment.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think most people who are starting an online business haven't even thought ahead to what's the exit plan, right? Like, I think a lot of people just expect that, okay, well, I need to get rich. And then once I get rich, I can just stop, right?
Like that. Yep. So people do think, yes.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, you could have a potentially 8-figure exit at the end of that as well.
Can I I've got to give this example because it's for sale right now on Flipper. There's a mum blog site that is selling for $3.5 million. She started that 10 years ago, and it's just about being a mum. She's got 5 kids in rural America, and she just talks about, the recipes, how she's raised the kids, very genuine, really nice, really family-oriented business, right? It's an online business. They've just been blogging about it. And here she is now about to sell that thing for $3.5 million. I think it makes $150,000 a month net, something like that. And it's interesting, here's a big inside tip for all your listeners and for yourself, Todd. I get to speak to all the top website brokers in the world who do these big, amazing deals. Like I said, I'm fascinated by these big 7- and 8-figure exits. And that's what we live and breathe here. All my friends are very successful online doing the same sort of thing. And so I get to network with all the top brokers. And last year, I think it was last year or the year before, we started to see a lot more traditional old school passion style websites like food blogs and these photography sites and coaching sites and course selling sites that have been around for years. We started to see them getting bought up by these big private equity firms for 8 figures. And so that's in the tens of millions. Now, that's a big difference to selling a website for 7 figures, $1 to $5 million, Mumblog, $3.5 million. That rolls off the tongue, sounds pretty easy. And it's pretty easy when you know what you're doing, to get to that point. But going 8 figures, that's 10x, that's next level. So it really fascinates me. And I'd say to these brokers, what's the difference, do you reckon, with these? Like, they're selling, would you believe, food blogs, like about paleo recipes and stuff and helping out families for 8 figures in the tens of millions. Who is buying these and why? What's the difference? And most of the brokers said to me, realistically, it's just time in market. These things are assets that the owners didn't realize were worth so much, even though they're making a lot of money off them, but they're just monetizing with AdSense. These sort of sites have really taken off. In the day and age of AI, real sites with real traffic are worth suddenly a lot more now. And so those with big followings, so that's why I think even personal branding sites, we are seeing those sell for massive sums. Travel sites, same sort of thing. Personal branded travel sites, they sell no worries. So if you're a coach and you're thinking, how do I sell my personal branded coaching site? They're still popular. If they've got traffic and strong revenues and have been around for years, they're worth a lot of money. So it's worth, like Todd said, thinking about the end game as you're doing it. Have a 5-year plan and a 10-year plan. That's how Liz and I have always run our lives for everything, health, wealth, and happiness. 5 years, 10 years plan. But these assets now, so that's why it's worth coming back to, if you can find these diamonds, we call them diamonds in a rough, long-established websites that someone's gotten bored with or hasn't figured out how to make much money and they sell them off cheap, there's a real opportunity to buy those, add your expertise and your products into it and build them up and sell them off for a very high price down the track. So it's interesting to one of these brokers, the long-established sites that are generating high cash flows are worth a lot of money now. That's what and of course the big institutional buyers know that, and they've got very deep pockets. They want the cash flow, just like all of us.
Yeah. And the thing is, like you said, even with the AI stuff, like people still crave the authentic content that's being created. I can't tell you how many times I go on YouTube and I'm looking for a review for a product and I click on a video and it's obviously just an AI generated thing that they haven't actually used the product. And it's just, it's basically summarizing what's already on the Amazon page. I click off right away because I know it's just junk content. It's not really what I want. And when I finally find a video that has an actual person who has a product in front of them that's actually reviewing it, that's the content I'm looking for. And so if you've got that with a website, yeah, I'll take that over the AI suggestion at the top of Google any day, right?
Yep. And that's how this whole business model works when you think about it. So to explain why this is so powerful, think of that mum blog or one of these food blogs that's been around for 10 years. When you go there as a real human and say you're looking up, so it's a food blog and you're looking for a recommendation on what's the best non-stick frying pan. What does this person use? So it's not just their personal opinion that's going on in your mind. There's a subconscious thing going on because when you land on their website, you'll see that the mum or she has been around for 10 years doing this. She's got a real social media following. She's a real person. There's that social proof. It's like, oh, wow, there might be 50,000 people on their Facebook page. You don't have to go on to it yourself, but you can just kind of tell that from being on the website. And so you tend to trust their reviews. And if they're a proper food blogger, and it's not AI generated you can see there's shorts of them on YouTube all the time, cooking and stuff. You go, all right, this person knows what they're doing. I don't need to go any further. I trust that if she says that's the best non-stick frying pan for a family on a budget, and I can get it for $20 on Amazon, I'm going to buy on her affiliate link. That's how this market works. And so again, coming back to this idea that if you're listening to this and you're building an asset, doesn't matter what niche you're in, when people can see that it's real, then it's a lot more valuable. And just I can't help myself here, but giving a renovation tip for a website, one of the key inside pages that we tell people to renovate is the about page. Most people neglect that, but it's so important in this day and age for not just SEO purposes, but it's one of I've looked at tens of thousands of websites over the years, the Google Analytics. And one of the things we noticed when we first started doing this even was no one used to talk about it. But when you go through Google Analytics tracks the traffic that comes to a website. And I always look at the top visited pages because they're the biggest renovation opportunities, 80-20 rule. And it's amazing how many times the about page is sitting up there pretty highly. So most people neglect it. They do it, especially fake sites or these AI generated sites. They have normally a little short thing. If you can make that a big tip for you, if you're fixing up your own website, all visitors at some point are going to legitimately want to follow you are going to look at your about page. It's probably one of the most, after the homepage, I would say it's the most important page to work on.
So let's kind of backtrack a little bit and go to the beginning of this process. How do you even identify a good website to buy, and how much should you expect to pay for it?
Really good question. It's a big one, Todd. How much time do we have? The main thing, how do you identify it? That's something that, it's taken us 30 odd years to sort out. Well, particularly online, it's taken us 15 years to really dial that in. There's a lot to it. But the good news is that everything's tracked online. And I guess the main thing that we're looking at when we're identifying good websites to buy are these things that you and I are chatting about here, is the virtual assets that everyone else is missing. So what's really sitting there in the value of the online business. But at its base level, what it always boils down to is profit and traffic. So if it's claiming to make $10,000 a month, does it really do that? And so we need to check out the profit and then the traffic. So things like what I just talked about then is identifying what are the main pages that people are coming to, because that's typically our renovation opportunities when we buy the sites. But also making sure that traffic is legitimate, that it's real, it's genuine, that people are spending time on page. So when you look at Google Analytics, it tells you, it's actually probably my main tool when I'm doing due diligence. It's probably the main thing, even above and beyond the profit. In some ways, for me, profit just helps me value the website. So I'll explain what that means in a minute. But in terms of finding opportunities, I think realistically, it would boil down for me is looking at the Google Analytics and understanding what's the engagement like on this website. What are the popular pages? Are people really hanging around? What are the traffic trends? Are they real? Because you can't fake Google Analytics. Well, not easily. Like a legitimate site will just use Google Analytics to track everything. And then, of course, the market research, making sure. So we have a big, long process of using keyword research. These days, we do it with AI. It's a lot quicker to do the initial. So I can do what used to take me 6 hours. Literally, we joke about it all the time because I'm a keyword nerd, because it makes you a lot of money. But now Liz does it. She's been stirring me. She just does it in 30 seconds with ChatGPT. It's good enough to give you the first overview. But still, we spend a lot of time looking at other sites in the niche to realize how they're making money. And then what it would boil down to after that is the valuation bit. So that would come back to the profit, because all businesses are sold, whether it's bricks and mortar or online businesses, they sell generally, just keeping in mind when you're eyeballing, like doing your first thumbnail sketch of valuing a business or an online business is 3 times the profit. So if the website makes $100,000 a year net, so we're not talking sales, don't care about sales and stuff, it's the net profit. What does the owner actually net out of that website? If it makes about $100,000 a year, then your starting point in your brain is, okay, it's probably worth around 300,000. But obviously that can vary from 1 times up to 5 times. There's a big gap in that. And that's the art of what you need to learn. So please, if you're listening to this, don't rush out there and automatically spend 300,000 on a website that's making $100,000 a year. That would not be smart. There's a lot to learn behind this, but that's what you're running through your head when you first do what we call a thumbnail sketch of a website. And then we drill down into much deeper due diligence. And obviously then it comes down to negotiations.
Okay. Now, as far as the multiple of the income, because you said 3 times the yearly revenue, right?
Yeah.
Or
so which is, yes, it's 30 odd times the monthly.
Okay, yeah. When you're looking for a website, are you typically looking for something that it has a lower multiple or higher multiple, or does it even matter? Or is maybe that a good or bad sign if the multiple is too low?
It's a really good question. The bargain hunter in me always wants to get them on a 1 times or a 2 times, or the bargain ones, the ones like that I've described that have been neglected. And now typically they're a private buy. Like when I found that coaching site this week, you probably pick that up for just $500 or something, or like Nathan Alexa, they bought that gardening site for $500. So they're kind of outside the scale. When you're buying a website through a broker, if it's selling for a really low multiple, as an advanced buyer, that can be an opportunity to renovate it. If you're a beginner, you would probably be very, very wary and walk away. You definitely need to understand, why is it selling for such, like, why is no one else wanting to buy this thing? Because websites are really popular. When they list a good website, listed at around anywhere from a 2 to 3 to 4 times multiple. I know there's a big variable there, but generally they sell pretty quickly, or they will sell around the 3 times. valuation. So if you do see something really low and you're a beginner, I would be wary. Normally it's because the traffic has taken a hit. So you just need to be careful. Higher multiples generally will be on really solid websites that have recurring revenues. So anything with recurring revenues will nearly always sell for 3 to 4 to 5 times multiple. So info product sites with recurring membership sites, SaaS businesses, software as a service businesses, very valuable. They're all semi-passive. So those ones you will have to pay more money to get into, but they're typically a lot more solid and reliable.
Okay. Now, is the opportunity to renovate and improve it less if it's already selling at a higher multiple?
Not necessarily, because people get pigeonholed in how they run their websites, understandably. So a great example, and it is a 7-figure example. Sorry, it's not a small one, but the best example I can think of is clients of ours bought a pet blog. This is on our podcast. You can see the interview. It was making 300,000 net a year. It was 10 to 15 years old, the classic pet blog. That's serious sum of money for a pet blog, right? You wouldn't have expected it. I used to see that site because we're in that niche a lot, and I've done lots of SEO in there. And I didn't expect it to make that sort of money. It's a very simple looking blog. It was just run with a team of writers. The person was passionate about pets when they started it. So you think about that. He's making a serious sum of money in a semi-passive way, 300 grand a year for not doing a lot, owned it for 10 years, 15 years, whatever. He's bored. So he sells it literally to our client for $1 million through a broker. So 3 times multiple. And so your question is, does that mean, so that's kind of fully priced on a standard ads. It was just making money off AdSense. That's it. So our client bought it. And what they did was they fixed up the affiliate offers, put much better affiliate offers. And the main thing, they changed the ad network. And within the next 6 months, it went to 600,000 net profit. Now that thing was worth, because it's gone so much higher, the multiple actually then it goes up. So it was worth that, valued at over 2.5 million. And so our client was pretty happy because their background is in making money out of commercial property. And they just said, wow, I did not expect that sort of return. So I think the multiple websites, and like any business, are valued on what they're doing at that moment in time. This is the beauty of having the knowledge of how to renovate these sites. You can look at it and go, okay, that's fine. I'm happy to pay a 3 or 4 times multiple now, but I know I can renovate it a lot better by, say, your listeners could add in their own courses. Well, that could 10x a website. But like you said, affiliate clicks, if you're listening to this, exactly like Todd said, most affiliate links, especially Amazon, are only 4%. If you can get direct affiliate offers, you can get those commissions up to 20%. But if you layer in an info product, you're getting 100% of your own product that you might be selling for $99 or $495. Now, instead of earning $20 or $50 a click, you're earning potentially $500. Okay, the conversions are different, but you can 10x the site's value. So it doesn't matter if you paid 3 or 4 times. The trick is you've got to know what you're doing. You need the knowledge to realize, where's the opportunity here.
Another thing is, we're talking a lot about these websites that are valued at, millions of dollars. If someone's first starting out with this, what budget range or what range of valuation should they be looking for their first purchase? Because I assume it's not, $100,000 or something.
No. This is my favorite question, Todd. Love it, because we love teaching beginners. This is our passion. Under $5,000. And definitely in our community, the rule is, now it's changing slightly this year because you can get better websites up to $5,000, but for many years, our rules being your first website is under $1,000 just to stay safe. Don't expect to make big money out of it. But most people have never bought a business, let alone an online business. And there's a few things they need to learn. So practicing your due diligence and stuff like that. So presumably, if you're listening to this and you're in business, you've got the money to, this is not a bricks and mortar. You can buy, I know in America, you can buy bricks and mortar businesses, no money down. This is not that situation at all. You do need money to make money here, but keep it safe. And most of our community now, we're recommending keep it under 50 grand even, because it's just safe. You're not going to lose the house over that. So our background is doing 6 and 7 figure deals. And we used to help a lot of people do those sorts of deals. And gosh, that's a big risk in this day and age. I wouldn't do that personally. And I'm not giving financial advice. It's up to you. You can spend whatever you want, but you can actually make a fortune or a really good income just buying safe, small niche sites under 50 grand. It's actually a sweet spot. 50 grand cash, there's no, that gives you a lot of negotiating room as well. But I wouldn't even start there. If you're brand new to this, buy your first site under $1,000, just jump on the flipper. You can do some practice due diligence or whatever. Once you're ready to step it up, what we find is most of our clients, they practice on a small site under $1,000, then they'll buy something under 5,000, which has got a bit more traffic and makes a little bit of money, and they get a bit of success with that. Then you sell it, get your money back, and roll it into bigger deals like 10,000, 20,000, something like that. And that's how you can kind of build your bank up and build your experience. And that's keeping it safe. You're not taking a massive risk. You can do it as a side hustle. You don't have to quit your job to do it. To me, that's a very easy way to get into business.
From the time when you identify a website that you want to purchase and then actually like purchasing it and taking ownership of it, how long is that process? Because I assume there's a lot of things that need to get transferred.
Oh, it can be really quick, 24 hours. Yeah, like literal. Oh, yeah, because you just change the domain name. That's it. You just change the servers over and transfer the hosting. That's it, done. So you get a techie to help you with that. Typically, like realistically though, when you're buying a functioning one, you're doing due diligence, you're going back and forth with the seller. It might take you a week at the most, but the actual process, it's pretty much overnight.
Wow, nice. Okay. And so then once you have the website, at that point, is that where you look at, I assume, like any affiliate links you have to swap out with your own, any ad network, you have to put your own account in there or something?
You do all that yourself. So you do that straight away. As soon as you take over the site, you do that on the first day. You can get a techie, you hire a techie off Upwork or something to help you if you're not good with that. I recommend you learn how to do that sort of stuff yourself. But on big sites, that's why you don't buy a big site straight up. It is more complex on a really big site with thousands of pages and stuff. On these small sites under $5,000, no, that's really easy.
Okay. And then at that point, you mentioned something about SEO. So are you also increasing the traffic? Are you doing some SEO things to increase the traffic and increase the visibility? What are some of the main things you're doing there? Is it mostly on-page SEO stuff, or are you working to get backlinks? Like, how complicated is this?
Depends how big the site is and what your skill level's like. Now, for most of our beginners, we see biggest results. And remember too, when we're training people, we're trying to give them digital skills for the future. So we love teaching on-page SEO because it kind of rounds out your digital skills. And when you're renovating a website, what we've noticed is tidying up the on-page SEO gives you your biggest bang for your buck. And I'm probably talking quite technically if you don't know what that means, but on-page SEO is fixing up the site so that it sits better in the search engines. And a lot of old sites are neglected, or they were set up in the days when nobody bothered with on-page SEO, whereas now it's quite important. But also, you can certainly build backlinks and things. But on these smaller sites, realistically, it's mainly on-page SEO. But the other big thing these days, because of AI, we've got to also look at the list and social media as well. That kind of comes into it. So we never used to recommend social media, or wasn't necessary on affiliate sites. But these days, to build what we call a real site that humans trust, I think having community is just so important, and it's a really big renovation opportunity. And a lot of good sites, especially old sites, will come with existing Facebook pages or YouTube channels and things like that. They're assets in and of themselves. And the gold asset, especially if you're selling courses, you should have this anyway, is a list of some kind. Either a newsletter, podcast, a private Facebook page could be viewed as a list, but an actual email list is, gosh, that's worth a lot of money now. They're an engaged email list. So that's part of the other renovation, is building up that community, like the relationship with the list. But SEO is a key way we renovate websites. And I know it's trickier now, particularly for beginners, but the foundations haven't changed. And the point is, there's so many sites that rank despite themselves, and that's the brilliant renovation opportunity. And then you just build on from there. And I think these days, I will reiterate, that's one thing that I've got to admit has changed over the last year or two. Is it is a very powerful thing now to build in, I guess you call it social media. We call it building a community. That's what people are looking for these days. That's what we've noticed anyway in passion niches. There's a lot more trust under those.
Right. Now, is there a certain social media platform that you look for that's maybe more valuable than others? Like you mentioned Facebook groups, but would it also be like a YouTube channel or something? Or
My preference is YouTube these days. I think it's a really good, and now I know it's not passive to run those. That's the problem with it, with the YouTube channel to a degree. You can get a team to help you run those and things like that. But traditionally, and it's to this point, private Facebook groups are really good. So for our travel bloggers, we've had multiple travel bloggers buy rundown travel sites, or neglected travel sites. But one of the big assets that comes with them is a private Facebook group. So Annette, she's a retiree and she's traveling around Australia. One of the sites that she bought was actually through a private Facebook group. Someone they're called grey nomads. When retirees travel around, they retire, they're called grey nomads here in Australia. And one of these ladies said, I've done enough travel as a grey nomad. I'm literally retiring from that. Does anyone want to buy my 14-year-old website off me? It's all about traveling around Australia in a caravan. And no one else even responded. But because she'd done our course, she knew there was a lot of value in that. And because also in the Facebook group, there was over 50,000 visitors, 50,000 members. And she got that for $5,000, that site. So, think of that asset, 14 years worth of work building that up, and she got it for $5,000. Just the content alone was worth that. She added that to her other travel blog, which she has, and that now is generating her anywhere from $4,000 to $5,000 a month net, just off affiliate links and things like that. So private Facebook groups are very valuable because they typically tend to go really well with niche passion. We call it passion niches. Like if you're into learning how to play guitar or golf or all the niches we talked about today, gardening, travel, food blogs, coaching courses, those sorts of things tend to be what we call passion niches, and private Facebook pages in terms of the social media accounts are probably the best ones. Oh, and interestingly, Pinterest. Pinterest these days seems to be quite, because we've got a client, he's got a site about barbecues. And I think he's got 600,000 followers on Pinterest for this barbecuing.
Right. Well, Pinterest it's a search engine, right? It's not just a social site, it's a search engine. Yeah.
Yep, just like YouTube. And that's why I personally like YouTube, but I realize there's a lot more work for people. Whereas Pinterest, we found clients I don't use Pinterest myself, but we've got I'm just speaking from experience across our community. A lot of our members have had big success with Pinterest because it's pretty easy to hire a VA and just post pins and pictures and stuff, particularly in, food blogs, travel blogs, anything like that. So Pinterest has worked really well. Actually, one of our clients, Yvette, she did a site about pickleball. And the way she grew that significantly was with the Pinterest account. There you go. So social media is a really nice adjunct to it. Oh, and she knew nothing about running Pinterest and she didn't have time to do it. She just paid a VA, someone in the Philippines, to run it. And it built up significant traffic, which then converted on her website through the affiliate links.
Yeah, nice. I like that you mentioned the Facebook group because Facebook group says there's strategies around that for how to get high ticket clients out of a Facebook group. And the thing is, especially like in a niche like ours, online business, coaches, course creators, it's very difficult to build up a good Facebook group in that niche. And so, 50,000 people in a Facebook group, right there, just that asset alone is a gold mine of high ticket, clients that you can get for any course or coaching program that you're looking for.
And then about it, like you just said something, they're high ticket because they're in that private group. They're obviously interested in that topic. They're probably more valuable than what people realize. And it's just your skill then to unlock that. That's why we're excited about communities. Communities are where it's at now, especially with AI, because it's AI proof.
So you buy the website, you renovate it, you do some SEO stuff, you swap out the links, you increase the value. Is there a timeline that you look for as far as at what point do you sell that or do you look at selling it? Is it 1 year? Is it 3 years? Or are we just looking to build it up to a certain revenue level, no matter how long it takes, and then sell it?
This is the thing that we coach people on because this comes down to a mindset, comes down to everything. This is what we learned early in the piece when Liz and I first started going out with each other and we got into business. Why are you doing this and what's your vision for your life? And we've advised high net worths over the years in business exits. That's our background, through to ourselves, through to our own clients. Why are you telling me you want to sell this business for tens of millions of dollars. What's the actual goal? Let's step back a minute. What's your actual vision? So for people online, and presumably anyone listening to this, it's probably like Liz and I, all those years ago, the reason we wanted to move everything online was for freedom, because so we can work from home, and we wanted the high cash flow and assets. For us, these are assets. That's how we decided to build up our asset base. So we have a diversified portfolio of websites rather than a diversified portfolio of real estate. We've got website assets. So our goals is a little bit like Warren Buffett, is hold for the long term. We don't sell. So we might sell the smaller ones because they take up headspace, and our team have got to keep running these little small websites, but we then roll the money into the bigger sites. So for us personally, we're long-term buy and hold. Basically, our strategy is 5 years plus. So we own websites that we've held for 10 years plus. And some of them are actually small. We've got one or two that are right now that we're kind of our favorites, and they only make like $1,000 a month. But over 10 years, that's a lot of money when you haven't had to touch it. But generally, we like to hold for the long term, but we know in our community, there's lots of people, like you said, they want the cash flow because they can sell them and roll the money into bigger deals as well. So it just comes back to what are you here for? So when you get these working though, what we've noticed is across all our clients, any good sites that are making good monthly income, they tend to hang on to them because the cash flows are so high. And once you get them running, I won't say nothing's passive and there's work in running these. But once you get the team dialed in and it's working, I think most of our clients become like us. They're long-time buy and hold. They don't bother selling them. Typically, most people that do this professionally, I've observed, we all tend to sell our smaller sites and focus on the winners. And that's what we recommend. So these days, you only need 5 or 6 good websites in your portfolio. And that's a seriously good income working from home, freedom to do whatever you want. You can travel. Most of our clients, I think, really are after freedom, and okay, they want financial freedom, but they also want time freedom. So once you get that dialed in, people tend not to, they just sit on them long term.
Yeah. And so I guess that rolls into my next question, is the time commitment. So when you're first buying a website and renovating it, is that pretty much a full-time job, or can you do that part-time?
No, you can do it part-time. Yeah, it's, I mean, the more time you've got, the better. But the vast majority of our community are working, they're working, I call it extreme hours. Most people these days seem to work 5 to 9, not 9 to 5 anymore. And we still get clients working on those in the evening. So a couple of hours a week, particularly on small sites. Once you get in the stage where you're buying much bigger sites, like in a 6-figure range, realistically, depends if you want to keep working in your normal job, but they're great fun to work full-time on then at that point. But what people don't realize with websites, it's not like you have to turn up 9 to 5 every day. Even when you do this full time is kind of, you binge work on it. Websites don't stop. They work 24/7. They literally make money while you sleep. So you don't have to work on them all the time or anything like that. It's mainly when you do the renovation, and then you kind of just maintaining them throughout the year. Depends if you're in growth mode or not. So you don't have to work every single day. You don't have to turn up on them. You might work on them once a month or once every 6 months, and you might just cycle around your portfolio. Again, it comes back to what's your vision? What's your goals? Do you want to make lots of money? Do you want to flick it in 2 years' time for 7 figures? Well, then you're going to have to work on it a bit more, and you're going to have to hustle a bit more. If you have got a 5-year plan, then it's probably more part-time that you spend across each site.
Nice. Matt, this has been such an interesting and awesome conversation. I wish we could talk all day about this, but we're running out of time here. If people want to learn more about what you do, get some more information about how to buy websites and renovate them and do everything that they just learned about today, where can they find more information about you?
If you're interested in learning the basics of this, we've got a free masterclass on our website. We are at ebusinessinstitute.com.au. We're Australian, but a lot of our clients are in the US. So ebusinessinstitute.com.au/masterclass. We actually show the kind of sites that we buy in there, plus our students have bought, and we show where we buy them and how we value them and what we do to them. So you can just get started with the free masterclass, have fun, stay safe. Remember, your first site, stick to under $1,000. But do our masterclass first. That'll give you a good idea. And then if you're interested beyond that, we do obviously sell a course, and we talk about the course at the end of the masterclass.
Awesome. Matt, thank you so much. Like I said, I've loved this conversation, and I'm definitely checking out that masterclass. So thank you so much. And we really enjoyed having you on the podcast today.
Oh, thanks so much for having me on, Todd. Definitely a pleasure being here.
You've been listening to the Digital Trailblazer podcast. For show notes and information about today's guest, head to digitaltrailblazer.com. Now, if you love this episode, if you got some value, make sure you leave us a review and subscribe. And be sure to share this episode with anyone you know who could use help to build their business. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.